Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. I'm your host S.M. Hali with another edition of Defense and Diplomacy. Global warming and a number of other issues are making sure that the world is likely to be facing an acute shortage of water. There are two major reasons for it. One, the rising population, which is expected that from the current rate of 7.3 billion, this is going to jump by 2025 to 8.9 billion, which means that the water stress, which is currently only 673 million, will jump to 3 billion. That means that the potential casus belli for future conflicts is going to be water. But to discuss the water issues, especially between India and Pakistan, and currently in Pakistan, we are honored to have in our studio today engineer Shams-ul-Mulk, who has been the chairman of WAPDA and has also served as the chief minister of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. It's an honor to have you in our studio, sir.
Thank you.
We have with us engineer and Dr. Shaukat Hameed Khan, who is a renowned energy expert. Welcome, sir. Sir, the water shortage in Pakistan is likely to occur for a couple of reasons. One of them I mentioned was global warming, and then of course there's silting of the dams, and then also that our canals are not lined, so there is seepage. How do you look at it, sir?
Well, Mr. Hali, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be talking to you on this subject. You mentioned that in future the cause of international conflict, possibly leading to wars, would be water. And let me tell you that in the past, perhaps there has never appeared a time where different countries or different nations had to fight about a matter which pertained to life, because water is not a commodity like oil or anything else. They have substitutes. Water has no substitute. Water has to be in the form of water, because it is a subject which it is a commodity which relates to life. So there is one aspect of it. I just wanted to mention that perhaps when the future people will have to fight with others, they will be fighting for life. They will be not fighting for resources, and that will be very, very important matter to know. Secondly, I was recently reading a report that was a few months back. It was written by a foreign consultant and not to be submitted to the government of Pakistan or to a provincial government, but to some other foreign agency. And it says that Pakistan's economic potential appears to be unlimited, given its geographical location, its human resources, and its climate. Water, however, appears to be a problem, the scarcity of which, the results of the scarcity of which are visible even today. And if this matter is not addressed soon, it would become a very major impediment in Pakistan's economic potential.
That is very ominous. I'll just come back on this, sir. Dr. Shaukat Hameed Khan, you are an energy expert, and of course one of the major uses of water is creating energy. The figures state that Pakistan has a capacity of producing 100,000 megawatt of electricity, hydroelectricity.
Probably less.
This is a figure I found.
Still a big number, very
but
big number. Yes.
We are utilizing only 6% of it. How do you think, sir, we can enhance this?
Hydropower will play a very crucial role, and we have a lot of potential sites. The misfortune is that in the last 40 years, and Shams-ul-Mulk Sahab knows this, and he's been pointing this out day after day, year after year, that look, we haven't built any major dam, or hydropower program has not been launched in the last, no major dam has been built in the last 40 years. India, for example, is building something like 60 small and big dams on their part of the rivers, and even probably encroaching on our waters. So there is a problem. Our problem of water and power is compounded by the fact that our dams are multi-purpose. They're meant to store water for food, for flood mitigation, to prevent that, and also for electricity generation. I was looking at the numbers of the last 10, 12 years. The average hydroelectric actual production of hydroelectric power has barely exceeded 51 to 54%. Because the primary purpose is basically food, agriculture, and flood mitigation. You mentioned the global warming. Global warming is people talk about the IPCC model and so on, but they forget that in this area, South Asia, in Pakistan in particular, the models predict a 27 to 30% higher precipitation in the next 25, 30 years. So, but this is going to be that you cannot control the time, you cannot control the intensity. It's going to be very variable, intense at times, and droughts and intense rainfall. So when it comes to hydropower and pondage, here's another reason for us to build more water storage systems. Hydropower at the moment as it stands in Pakistan cannot give you 24/7 electricity. Base load available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week will have to come through let's say fossil fuels. We of course rely on oil and gas for 2/3 of our electricity generation. Coal has very little role in that. Hydro of course will play an important role. But hydropower stations take many years to build. Then there's another thing, Shams Saab knows it very well. The great group of people, the teams that were built up in the 70s and 80s, water and power, when it was all a combined and integrated system of designing, managing, maintenance and planning and foresight, has been dispersed, has been broken up at the advice of the World Bank, I believe. They want to break up. They broke up WAPDA, then they want to go further extremes, local GENCOs and so on. So a new paradigm or framework is being developed, and that we have to be very careful that we don't lose what we have and are able to move into the next phase. But there's a major shortage of people.
I see. So we need to concentrate on building the capacity of our human resource.
To manage existing systems, to rehabilitate and upgrade them. A lot of work is required there. And then of course to plan for the future.
Right. I'll come back to you on water management. Engineer Shams-ul-Mulk Saab, there is a major player in the region, which is India. And we have a treaty with it, the Indus Water Treaty, according to which 3 rivers went to India and we enjoy the fruits of the 3 others. There have been, problems with India in the near past also, especially Baglihar and Kishinganga and this Neelam water project. How do you look at that, sir?
I personally believe that we have lesser danger from India than we have from our own inactivity.
I see.
We are actually suffering in the matter of water, or we have a potential to suffer because of the self-inflicted wounds that we have done. It has not been from anywhere else. Well, in future, I can't say, but the situation is that it's just like an absentee landlord. Absentee landlord, when his land is there and he is absent, then everybody comes along and he tries to occupy it. You see, because the absentee landlord, this is what we have tried to do with our water. As Dr. Shaukat says, that for the past 40 years we have not built a major dam, and in fact I still remember one day in WAPDA when the Minister for Water Resources, China, was sitting in front of me, and he said, Mr. Chairman, as a friend of Pakistan, I wish you had moved your people, your equipment and your expertise when you finished up Tarbela to another dam on that great river. And I just told him, I said, well, we have not been able to do it in the past 30 years. What to think of having done it? Because there is a problem in Pakistan. Among our political structure and a political governance structure, they find it, I don't know, more worthy of their time to fight with provinces, among the provinces about the water, rather than trying to do something about creating surpluses. They're trying to share shortages, which is an impossible task. But they have an option, how to create surpluses and then share the surpluses. That is what has not been done in Pakistan. And that is not being done because I fear that maybe there is a lobby in Pakistan which is more interested in creating disharmony between the provinces rather than a harmony.
Unfortunately. Engineer Shams-ul-Mulk is of the opinion that many of these problems are self-created.
Absolutely.
And that comes back to what you were trying to say, sir, our aim towards better management of our water resources. So how would you...
Raji, I'd like to just little add maybe and ask a question, Shams-ul-Mulk sir. I understand that our storage of the annual, we have one river basin, Indus Basin, the rivers that we have, whatever comes in, precipitation, the melting of the snows, and the underground aquifers. But the storage of water that we have is only about 9% of the annual flow in the Indus Basin. The world average is 40%.
That's a major deficit.
Major deficit. That's nearly a factor of 4 or 5. And the Colorado River, for example, Colorado Basin, Murray-Darling, it's what? I believe
3 years flow.
3 years flow
of the river.
3 years flow is what is available. So in case of a severe drought or continuing for 2-3 years, they can fall back. You know, they can use the system.
And how many thousand dams are in the state of Colorado?
Well, China, I mean, I'm sorry,
America,
America has about 4,000 medium and large dams. China has 20,000 dams. You see, look at the countries which are the models of progress. Currently, let me forget about China, United States of America. Confine myself to the two very visibly progressing countries, China and India. What has India done? India has about 6,000 dams, small, large, and very large. Now, how many we have? 68 small dams and 3 large dams.
Goodness.
31.
And the Tarbela Dam has already lost 30% of its capacity in the last 35 years because of silting.
That's what I mentioned earlier, silting as well as the canals not being lined.
I'd like to invite your attention to something else, if I may. Hydroelectricity, we regard it as a perpetual source of water and electricity. This is not true. Over a 100-year period, it's non-renewable. It's not a renewable source. Like happened in Tarbela, the silting its capacity is going down. But because of this climate model, because of the higher precipitation expected, we should plan for it and get the dividend. Build your dams a little higher. Raise the dams that you have, like we did in Mangla. But we haven't done that properly. We should move fast on that part. Hold water back. There's a dividend available the next 20 years. So then coming back to another thing, we are very wasteful in our agricultural practices, the use of water. I did some calculations that for every 1 million tons of rice that we export, we have basically exported about a little less than 1 million acre-feet of water.
Really?
Yes. Now, why do we have to grow surplus rice, for God's sake? We should have a zoning programs, areas which input-output the whole water budget, and allow, these crops are allowed. So you don't take water away from the system. We are reaching the stage where systems are not sustainable, ecologically, environmentally, in terms of resources. You mentioned population growth, 7.3 billion people in the world at the moment. When I was born, I was 1.3 billionth in the human population. It's gone up now.
It's really rising steeply, 8.9 by 2020.
Exactly. And there's a limited amount of water, the limited amount of land, usable land, arable land. And sir, I believe that about 11% of water, so gross overuse of water, is total disaster area. In spite of this salinity waterlogging programs, the water table is very high. I mean, 11% of our arable land, the water table is about 10 feet below the ground.
Right. Engineer Shams-ul-Mulk, I would like to draw your attention to a news item which appeared in one of the local dailies about the Indian Supreme Court asking for a project to be authorized for linking of various rivers, and I believe this is talking about two different components. One, the Himalayan component, which contains 14 rivers, and the peninsular component, which contains about 16 rivers. Is it of any concern to us?
I don't believe it would be, because this is a very old project of India. You see, they have a shortage of water in the south and partly in the west, and they have so-called surpluses in the north, extreme north, like Ganges. And I think this has been an old dream of the water professionals of India, that they should have this interlinking. You see, interlinking is just learning the same, or doing the same thing which Pakistan did. As a part of the Indus Water
Treaty.
The
Link Canal project.
And even much before that, when we had, because traditionally we have always been recognizing the fact that our western rivers have surpluses and our eastern rivers have shortages. That is why in Bias and Sutlej and Ravi, these three rivers, which we call the eastern tributaries. Now these three rivers used to have shortages, and that is why even before the independence, the Punjab Irrigation Department was thinking of building the Bakra Dam, and they had started building a Bakra Dam on their eastern rivers tributaries for the same reason of really storing the water. You see, the problem is our agriculture needs are between winter and summer is 1 to 2. This is the ratio. 1 in winter, 2 in summer. But our availability of flows is 1 to 4. 1 in the winter, 4
in summer.
In the summer. So we have 4 instead of 2, and this creates a problem. And this is why we have been saying that store it there and then transfer it during the low water months. And that is what Punjab was doing even before that. So I don't think it should affect us. And I still believe, and I believe it is not that we should be totally and entirely sort of comfortable with the fact that nobody will do anything to our water, because the greatest danger is to us the mindset of an absentee landlord pertaining to our water.
Point taken, sir. But Engineer Shaukat, Hameed Khan, sir, you were mentioning a kind of a understanding vis-a-vis Afghanistan also, because the river Kabul flows from there. What is your opinion?
From there, it contributes, I believe, about 23 million acre-feet of water to our...
About 18 to 20.
18 to 20
and
million.
India is building the Sarobi Dam for them.
Sarobi Dam plus another dozen sort of medium, smaller dams. Power, but of course there will be pondage. You can't generate power without storing water. So there is tension in the area. There is tension between Pakistan and Afghanistan. We should be alert to that. There is tension between the Indians and Bangladesh and Nepal and Bhutan. Very serious problems.
In fact, this linking project of India of the rivers is going to directly affect Bangladesh.
Absolutely. The fears are that something like 50% of their land will become saline. You know, there's no fresh water coming in. The Brahmaputra is diverted. So the Farakka Dam, you remember, back in the 60s and 70s, that was already choking off waters into Bangladesh, and now this diversion of the Brahmaputra will have a problem.
So you opine that there is a need to have an understanding with Afghanistan to make sure that the tensions don't rise.
We have to work together.
Right.
You see, for example, I believe the Kabul River, the biggest inflow into the Kabul is from our
Panchkora, which is we call the Chitral River.
Chitral River, also from our water. So if the upper riparian tries to act funny, then the upper riparian can act even more funny. So there has to be a larger picture, a longer period. One has to understand their requirements. If we like to have a win-win situation, we get together and sort things out.
You see, let me say something on this issue of Kabul River. I have believed, and I very sincerely believe in it, and sincerely and strongly believe in it, that the giant development of Kabul River for its entire basin between Pakistan and Afghanistan should be conceived as a part of, as a very major and important instrument for creating a strategic accord between the two countries. Let me tell you, Afghanistan's position in this case will be very simple, which no arbitrator in the world will be able to deny. They say, sir, Pakistan is throwing 30 million acre feet of water into the sea. My development will only take 1 million acre feet out of that. Why should it affect them? If we have not committed that water, and they say my water just enters in this river, and this water goes straight to the sea, and that is what it is. Now, if you had Kalabagh Dam, you at least would have at least one point. Well, I have some interest in Kabul River waters because it pertains to the filling of my reservoir.
Right.
You could do that. But you see, the same mindset, attitude which I have told you about the absentee landlord, that is creating problem for us. And this is what I said to you is, to me the danger is not what someone else will do to us. The danger is
what we inflict
will
upon
do to
ourselves. Right. As a last point, sir, what about allaying floods? I mean, in the last 2 years, 2010 and 2011, we have seen tremendous floods because of the monsoon, unprecedented monsoon. And then most of this water went waste into the Arabian Sea. What could we have done to make sure that this water could have been stored and there was less danger from the floods?
It's many things. I mean, mixed up together, the social situation is also involved. People are, because our rivers do not flow perennially, so what happened, people are moving into the areas where the rivers used to flow. When these flash floods occur, which will happen with more frequency because of this global warming, then people will be affected. But I would like to say that you still have to send water into the sea. We need a minimum flow of water to, people talk of 10 to 15 million acre feet throughout the year.
8 point, now finally the figure is, which has been approved, conceived by the international panel of experts for this, is 5,000 cusecs round the year, and that 5,000 cusecs round the year will make it about 3.6 million acre feet for the year, and then 5 million acre feet during the flood season. So it's about 8.5 million acre feet.
This has to flow into the sea. It cleans up our rivers.
Yes.
In the case of India, the problem is the polluting of the rivers is enormous because of religious practices there. The Ganges, of course, is old plans going on there, old problems there. But you're right what you said at the beginning. There is an acute water shortage looming for this part of the region.
Right. So
we have to plan for it.
Right. So with that, viewers, we come to the end of this program. This is a never-ending topic, but one which is very close to our interest because, as both our panelists pointed out, that water is a source of life. It is not just a source of energy or it has any substitutes, because we need water not only for drinking purposes, but for hygiene and for many of our daily needs. So unless we secure and preserve as well as manage this very, very precious resource, we are heading for a serious trouble. I would like to thank you, Engineer Shams-ul-Mulk. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Shaukat Hameed Khan. And viewers, keep watching us and also send us your comments. Hope to see you next week, inshallah, with another edition of Defense and Diplomacy. Allah Hafiz.